Right now at noon, the Wisconsin Supreme Court makes a ruling on the state's top elections official. We'll tell you if she can remain in her post after not being reappointed. Plus, unions suing to challenge cuts at USAID, why they're bringing the suit, and what the Trump administration is saying about the future of the agency. This is News 3 Now at noon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Josh Spreiter. New at noon, the Wisconsin Supreme Court is unanimously ruling that the state's top elections official can remain in her post. This despite not being reappointed and confirmed by the state Senate. Megan Wolf has been targeted for removal by Republican lawmakers over the 2020 presidential election. In 2023, they tried to fire Wolf, leading the commission to sue in an effort to keep Wolf on the job. Today, the state Supreme Court upheld a lower court's ruling in her favor. The ruling means Wolf can stay in her position and not face a confirmation vote by the Republican-controlled Senate. Meanwhile, President Trump is sending a letter to the chair of the Federal Election Commission saying she is removed from her role. Ellen Weintraub shared the letter on social media saying Trump was trying to replace her illegally. Weintraub is a Democrat who was first appointed to the FEC in 2002 by then-President George W. Bush and has continuously served since then. In December, she was elected chair of the commission for 2025. The FEC regulates fundraising and spending by candidates for federal office and publishes disclosure reports. Right now, the Trump administration is facing another lawsuit in response to its efforts to put nearly all USAID employees on leave. Natalie Brand reports from the White House.
As buildings remain closed, the U.S. Agency for International Development says thousands of employees will be placed on leave effective Friday night. CBS News has confirmed fewer than 300 personnel have been deemed essential of USAID's more than 10,000 staffers.
It's the U.S.'s main humanitarian agency, was created by Congress, can only be closed by an action of Congress.
The group Public Citizen filed a lawsuit on behalf of unions, saying the Trump administration's action is unconstitutional and that the freeze on foreign aid is already taking a toll.
Soup kitchens around the world are shutting down, providing food to desperately poor and hungry people. About 30 clinical trials have been suspended, so people who've been receiving medication are now cut off in the middle of the trial.
Friday, President Trump alleged on social media that the agency has corruption at levels rarely seen before, saying, quote, close it down. Thursday, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, the acting administrator of USAID, took a more measured tone, saying the U.S. will continue to provide foreign aid, but in a way that furthers the interests of the United States.
The goal of our endeavor has always been to identify programs that work and continue them, and to identify programs that are not aligned with our national interests and identify those and address them.
In a separate legal challenge, a federal judge in Boston has temporarily paused the buyout offer presented to around 2 million federal employees across government.
The case will be back in court on Monday. For now, the Trump administration says it's extending the deadline and workers will have until midnight Monday to accept the deferred resignation offer. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
40,000 federal workers have already chosen to take the administration's offer and resign. We are tracking a weekend storm system moving into Wisconsin. First Warn meteorologist Blaze Keller is out on the weather patio with your certified most accurate forecast. Hi, Blaze.
Hello. Yes, we're still eyeing that system, and we've gone ahead and dropped the alert day conditions with this next system. Still expecting accumulating snow where we find those winter weather advisories that will go through at least 6 p.m. on Saturday for Juneau and Adams County. A little bit longer for counties further to the north and east, closer to Manitowoc and Sheboygan. So we are still anticipating at least 1 to 3 inches across the majority of our coverage area. Closer to the state line, that's where we're probably going to be looking at an inch at most. We're unfortunately continuing, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, seeing some drier air mixing in with some of our future track models, and that's going to really undercut or really lower our snow totals as we go throughout your Saturday. You're seeing it there on future track as that snow begins overnight and continues through Saturday. A lot of that is staying north of even the Dells, north of Camp Douglas. It's only as we go into the afternoon hours Saturday that we begin to see some of that lighter snowfall here across southern Wisconsin. We are still dry, so it is going to take a few of those snowflakes to get the atmosphere moist, but as I mentioned, maybe an inch to 2 inches at best across the majority of our coverage area. Further to the south, we're looking at an inch at best. So that's why we've gone ahead and gone away with the alert day conditions. The atmospheric setup just isn't there to really get a robust amount of snow out of this. A seasonal day, upper 20s to low 30s with cloudy conditions. As we get ready for that next system, we're going to track out more and talk more in depth about that system in the full forecast.
I'm ready for some snow.
I know. January was lackluster. We certainly could use a little bit.
All right, Blaze. Thank you. Well, you can stay up to date on the forecast with the First Warn Weather app, which has those hourly forecast road conditions and latest radar. Just download it wherever you get your apps. A statewide ban on cell phones in class could be on the way in Wisconsin. There's a new bill in the state legislature proposing this ban. The bill would require all school districts to have a policy in place keeping cell phones away during class time. The policies could go as far as banning them from bell to bell. UW health officials say the person most often texting a child during the school day is the parent.
There's so much fear about school-based shootings and other types of violence that parents just feel safer when they know their kid can get a hold of them.
But law enforcement says phones do not help keep students safe in these incidents. Middleton High School already has its own phone ban in place, as experts and even students say it's challenged and changed how the hallways feel.
I'd say there was a lot of grumbling right at the beginning of the year, but it really quickly went away. They're talking more, they're interacting more, having meaningful interactions.
The bill is set to go to the Assembly Technology Committee next week. The Assembly could vote on it as soon as 2 weeks. The push to ban cell phones in schools is becoming popular across the country. Take a look at this map from the Associated Press. It shows where each state is in enacting these bans. The red states are ones where a ban is in effect or about to take effect. The dark gold states are where there's a proposed ban. The light yellow ones have policy recommendations or a pilot program in place. The AP made this map on January 16th. That's why you don't see Wisconsin yet highlighted. The map reflects only statewide action. It does not show anything about individual school districts taking their own action. Former Green Bay Packers wide receiver Sterling Sharpe is now a Football Hall of Famer. The Sharpe first came to Green Bay back in 1988 in the NFL draft, and in 7 years he was among the league's elite. He led the league in receptions 3 times in 5 years. Sharpe was the first in league history to record 2 seasons with at least 100 receptions. His career was cut short by a neck injury. Sharpe is the 29th Packer to receive a Hall of Fame honor. Still ahead for us on a Friday afternoon when Samsung's latest smartphones are set to hit store shelves. Plus, it is Super Bowl weekend. We'll tell you how much National Retail Federation says viewers will be spending on the big game this Sunday.
You're watching News 3 Now at noon.
Appliance brand LG is recalling nearly 500,000 ranges with front knobs. According to a post by the Consumer Product Safety Commission, accidental contact can activate the knobs, posing a fire hazard and burn risk for humans and pets. So far, there have been reports of more than 28 fires, some with extensive property damage, and at least 8 reports of minor injuries. Sadly, at least 3 fires have been linked to pets dying. Owners should contact LG for free replacement instructions. Samsung's latest smartphones, the S25 series, hit store shelves today. The company says the new phones are lighter weight with sharper displays and new artificial intelligence features. Prices range from $799.99 to $1299.99, though users can always save a few $100 by turning in their old phones. And more than 203 million American adults are expected to watch this Sunday's Super Bowl matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. According to the National Retail Federation, those viewers plan to spend roughly $18 billion on the big game, with food being top on the list on things to buy. NFL fans are also spending money on team apparel, new TVs and furniture, and decorations. That's your CBS News Money Watch report. For more, log on to CBSMoneyWatch.com. At the CBS Broadcast Center, I'm Carissa Lawson.
Here's the stock report at the noon hour. We're in the red so far this midday. The Dow is down 268 points. NASDAQ down 174. The S&P 500 down right now 43. Our Call for Action volunteers are in the building taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. Call for action at 608-270-2833 or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call-for-action. Straight ahead at noon, we have today's farm numbers, and Blaze is back with the weekend forecast. And later today on Live at 4, a musical about corn is getting rave reviews in Madison. Meet a cast member of Shucked, now playing at the Overture. Pam Bianchi is out of the radio barn this afternoon at the Wisconsin Corn and Soybean Expo. So here are your farm numbers. On the Health Watch this afternoon, the bird flu is forcing the Milwaukee County Zoo to close its aviary. Dead birds washed up on the shores of Lake Michigan and Illinois and Wisconsin this week. Some of the birds displaying symptoms of bird flu. State officials are testing samples to confirm. The aviary is home to hundreds of birds, including some endangered species. For the second time this season, flu cases are peaking across the country. That includes right here in Wisconsin. DHS says the week ending January 25th, flu activity was high and increasing. In southern Wisconsin, 27% of emergency department visits had a flu diagnosis. If you feel sick, you can buy an over-the-counter test at the pharmacy. Well, we are tracking that weekend storm system moving on in. Here's meteorologist Blaze Keller with the first warm forecast. Hi, Blaze.
Hello. That's right. We've dropped the alert day conditions, but we're still anticipating that accumulating snow as clouds move in throughout your Friday. Overnight, we may start to see some of that snow move in across northwestern parts of the state, but primarily the snow is going to be falling on Saturday for southern Wisconsin, and we'll talk about it here in just a moment. That's going to be later into the afternoon. High pressure is keeping our winds light today as compared to yesterday, but we're not seeing those clear skies. So we got one of the two characteristics. Usually we see clear skies and light winds. We're going to take the light winds today. Snow moves in overnight and continues to fall throughout your Saturday. You're seeing it here, a lot more of that snow north of even Toma, north of La Crosse. Some flurries and light snow will be moving into parts of southern Wisconsin as we look to the second half of your Saturday, becoming sunnier. As we go into Sunday, another high pressure system moves on in, but as clouds return with a quick moving surface low pressure system on your Monday, maybe some light snow or flurries as we kick off our next work week. Closer to home, snow looks to move in on future track as we near the midnight hour going into Saturday. Again, staying really north of Camp Douglas, Black River Falls. It's only until the late morning into the early afternoon that we begin to see the light snow activity falling here across central and mainly southern Wisconsin. Closer to the state line, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on who you ask, we're not probably going to see nearly as much snow as what they're expecting further to the north. That's where they could see upwards of 6 inches of snow in that dark blue, but most will probably stay underneath that between 3 to 6 inches. 1 to 3 in the light blue here, and then as I mentioned, closer to the state line, we're looking at less than an inch in total accumulations. And if we look at all of our models, we're all kind of in agreement that we are going to see lesser amounts of snow the further south you go. This is for the Madison area, and even as we go throughout this weekend system, the total accumulation is only peaking at an inch. So unfortunately for the Madison area, coming off of one of our driest or least snowiest Januaries on record, we're not really seeing a lot of snow with this system. That could change as we move further into not only February, but March as well. Further to the north, where they also were shorted a lot of snow, this is going to be some good news as well. They're getting some of that, so they can at least build up their snowpack. We could obviously use that down here, but Juneau and Adams County, you are our only counties in our coverage area underneath that winter weather advisory that will go until at least 6 p.m. on Saturday. Further to the north and east, that winter weather advisory is going to be for a little bit longer as that snow moves from west to east. Further to the south, you're seeing it on our graphics here. We are not underneath any winter weather alerts. And I have to mention of this because tomorrow is the year anniversary that Wisconsin recorded its first ever February tornadoes, 2 of them in the state's recorded history, an EF1 and an EF2 tornado touching down and impacting communities in Greene County, Rock County, Dane, and Jefferson counties. Thankfully, there were no fatalities. There was 1 injury, though. And now, with these February tornadoes touching down last year, the state of Wisconsin has recorded at least 1 tornado touchdown in every month. So at any point, if the conditions are right, we could see a tornado touchdown. We're going to have a whole write-up about this. And I believe Tunasia is down in some of these affected communities today, talking about what it's been like recovering from this a year later. We're also going to have a write-up on our latest Beyond the Barometer about what the weather conditions were like a year ago to bring us those historic tornadoes. So we're looking at a pretty seasonal day with cloudy conditions to end your work week. There is a look at your 10-day forecast. Maybe some flurries Monday and Tuesday, Josh, and that's when we'll also be a little bit on the cooler side before we gradually warm up into that following weekend.
You know, I remember that last year covering the storms and having a snowbank right behind me as I'm covering tornado damage. It's incredible. It was truly historic, and I am so thankful that nobody was seriously injured or worse. So. And now we're tracking snow this weekend. Yes. You never know. All right, Blaze, thank you. Well, the first Friday in February marks National Wear Red Day, which is why you see all of us at News 3 Now wearing red today. It is to raise awareness about the leading cause of death for women in the U.S. Stephanie Stahl has one woman's story of survival and what she wants others to know about heart disease.
Robin Eaton wants women to trust their gut when it comes to their heart.
I started having intense pain in my chest. My arms were tingly and my back hurt.
In November 2023, the 46-year-old called 911. Responding paramedics said her vitals and EKG were normal and she wasn't having a heart attack, so she didn't go to the hospital. Later, the pain got more intense and she headed to the emergency room.
It was very, very scary because all of a sudden, the room is just filled with doctors and nurses.
While a typical heart attack is caused by heavy plaque buildup in the arteries, Robin experienced a less common type that disproportionately affects women, spontaneous coronary artery dissection, or SCAD.
It's actually bleeding inside the artery wall, sort of like a bruise inside the artery. And that bruise can get so big that it blocks blood flow. When the heart is not getting enough blood flow, there can be damage.
Dr. Harmony Reynolds at NYU Langone Health wants other women to follow Robin's example.
When there's chest discomfort or another symptom that you think might be heart attack, and it's going on for 10 or 15 minutes or more, we need to call 911 and get to a hospital.
I just run a 5K the week before. I was the healthiest I've been in years.
Tests showed Robin has a condition that increases her risk for SCAD, and she was treated with medication and cardiac rehab.
Had I just listened to the paramedics, my kids would have come home and I would not have been here today.
You know your body best.
She's sharing her story as part of the American Heart Association's Go Red for Women movement and says she's maintaining a healthy lifestyle to continue healing. Stephanie Stahl, CBS News.
Among adult women aged 20 years and older, nearly 45% are living with some form of cardiovascular disease. That is according to the American Heart Association. Well, when we come back, Howard has the perfect suggestion in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Who will you be cheering for during this weekend's big game? If you serve what we're making today, I bet your gang will be rooting for this all-time winner. When it comes to the big game this weekend, no matter who you're cheering on, or if you're just watching it for the commercials, you know you're going to work up an appetite. So this year, along with your chips and dip, make sure you have something that'll satisfy the hungriest of appetites. How about melty roast beef sliders? We begin by slicing a package of Hawaiian-style rolls in half like this. and smearing both sides with a container of refrigerated garlic herb spread. This is going to add lots of flavor. Now we pile on some thinly sliced deli roast beef and top it with roasted red peppers. Just make sure you drain them well. And some sliced provolone. Sprinkle on some steak seasoning and top the whole thing with crispy fried onions. Put the top on and cover it with foil. About 20 minutes before it's time to serve, pop it in the oven to get all melty. Put these out during halftime and watch everyone dig in. The nice thing about these, they're just the right size. To get the recipe for our game day roast beef sliders, so you can earn the title of Best Game Day Host, just visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a winning way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
Blaze, we're tracking some snow.
That's right. You know, there's a look at your 10-day forecast. Most of us are probably only going to see about 3 inches of snow or less here. We don't really have any winter weather alerts. So snow Saturday, drying out on Sunday.
We'll see you at 4.